Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and today we're talking about this, which is my Walmart Get Home Bag Bug Out Bag. So here's how the project worked. I gave myself $100, so I could not go over that $100 amount, and I had to build a bag that had all the things I think I would need to get home in an emergency situation. The idea is like this. My office is about 20 minutes away, maybe a 25-minute drive. It's about 15 miles. And what I'm going to be doing in this video is giving you the rundown of the items in here and why I actually chose those items. And then in part 2 of this video, I'm going to actually go through the whole experience of taking this bag and going from work and getting home using just the items here to actually test out, did I choose the right items? Did I choose the items based on what I thought my needs were, but my needs were different? And we'll see how that all comes together. So again, the first thing we'll do is actually look at the items in the bag, and then I want to show you some items that I thought I might want to purchase, so I actually got them and then kept them in a separate receipt, and then thought, maybe I could add this in and take this out so it would still say under $100. But yeah, you'll see that some items that you thought maybe those are going to be great or really basic, they just end up costing too much, and so you have to find a cheaper way to get the same solution to the problems that you think might pop out in like a get-home scenario. Let me start off and talk about the backpack first. So this is Ozark Trail. This is one of, the Walmart, basically Walmart brand backpacks. This thing ran me $14.97. I'm pretty sure that was the most expensive item that I got for this entire setup as far as a single item. What I originally planned to do was get this packable day pack. And this was like $7. So, it cost me twice as much to get this. But when I basically unfolded this and opened it up, this thing is just tiny. So, the first thing I noticed in putting this whole thing together was you may want to try to save money by, I'll just grab some garbage bags and throw gear in there. But if you really have to be moving, and again, I'm going to be moving around 15 miles when I actually take this pack and put it in use, this was just not going to cut it. So I decided it's worth it to cut some other items and to pick up that extra cash in order to get this backpack, which it's not, the greatest backpack of all time. It's not something made by some high-end company, but it offers me an opportunity to carry some gear on the outside. It's got a variety of different pockets, and then it has some pretty nice straps, so I can actually carry this thing comfortably without, as I'm walking for 2, 3, 4, 5 miles into the journey and going, man, this thing is just really hurting me. It's cutting into my arms or my shoulders, whatever it is. So at the end, I felt like, yeah, this is a worthwhile investment to spend a big piece of my total budget, but it's going to make a difference overall. We'll talk about the items on the outside first. This is a water bottle. It is BPA free. It is plastic. I decided not to go with a metal one because they were either insulated, which it's going to keep your hot drink hot, your cold drink cold, but it's not great for boiling when you have an insulated water bottle if it's metal. And then the ones that weren't insulated didn't have a cap with thread, so I couldn't boil water to purify it or to kill Giardia, Cryptosporidia, things like that, and then crank something down to have it travel. And if I bought this and the metal one, it was just cost prohibitive. So I have to find another way to treat water. And so I've got another option with that. And so that's why I chose this water bottle, which has the screw down cap. It has the straw in there. So that's the first item there. And then the other item on the outside here is I got one headlamp, energizer, and 2 headlamps. Now this, I did this. This was about $9 or so for these. They're not the most amazing headlamps, but 1 is none and 2 is 1. So, if I had a flashlight and a headlamp, that would be great too. But this 2-pack was one of the cheapest ways to get one that was decently made, came with batteries, so I'm saving money not having to buy batteries. And in a, this type of situation where I'm going to be traveling, I want a headlamp as opposed to a flashlight. It's just my preference, hands-free, so I can actually operate, do things with both my hands as opposed to one hand to operate and one hand to hold the flashlight. So these items are on the outside. The main reason I put these on the outside is because I'm afraid if I put them on the inside, these could get bumped and turned on, and then all of a sudden I've got, my batteries are being worn out and I didn't even realize it. So at least if I'm on the outside, I have a better chance to see, oh, that got bumped and it's on, it's wasting the battery. As you saw, it does have the red option, does have the light option, and then also this does tilt down and back like that. So the exact same thing. It did come in a 2-pack from Energizer. Let's get into some of the zippered pockets. We'll start here. First thing you'll see is that I've got an Ozark Trail, which is an inexpensive Walmart brand multi-tool. I think this thing ran, maybe $4. And I got this because now I've got pliers, I've got a bunch of tools, and I do have, let me see if I can get this out without hurting myself. I do have a blade on this as well. So that eliminates the need to purchase an additional pocket knife and this. Again, it's all about being cost prohibitive, making sure that you're not spending money on things that you might use as opposed to things you'll definitely use. Multi-tool is just a great thing to have. I'll keep it in the sheath, and then when I actually, say, okay, it's time to get on the road, I can put this on a belt. It does have a little belt loop there. So that's in this outer pocket. Also in there I have, this is kind of, I think it was, again, like $3 or $4. Really cheap. It's got a bunch of different features. So there's a little bit of cordage here. It is breakaway. It does have a whistle. It does have a compass here, which again, I probably wouldn't want to stake my life on, but better than nothing. And then it's got a waterproof section in here, so I could put matches, I could put cotton ball. Let's say I'm walking down the road and I find some cattail that's dried. I can put that in there. It also does have a mirror inside of that as well. So simple little item. And then the one additional thing, which I'm not banking out a ton, but it does have a little ferro rod there, which I've tried one of these before, even before I bought this one, and the ferro rod does work. So that gives me at least one option to start fire. Then you add in the fact that I've got a mirror, so I could maybe get a fire started with that. So a couple different ways to start fire, and this is something I would immediately, let me just get that screwed on properly. I would immediately take this out and put it around my neck, so that I've got my whistle or whatever if I need to signal. So that's the second item that's in this front pocket. And then the third item is mace. This was more expensive. This was up around like $9. But again, I thought to myself, in this situation when I have no other way to protect myself, I'm at night in a situation where I'm, camping over on the way, on the journey, or it's night and someone or something, a skunk, a raccoon, or whatever comes out, this at least gives me an option to get that person or that thing away. So yeah, this for me, I thought good investment. Hopefully I wouldn't have to use it, but I feel more comfortable in that kind of bug out or get home scenario to have at least some option for self-defense against whoever or whatever might come out. Going into this front section here, we have, just get that, I left the tag on for this one. This is a watertight first aid kit from Ultimate Survival Technologies. Rather than buying a bunch of Band-Aids, a bunch of different things, and building my own kit, I have a kit here. There's a full list of everything that's in the kit right here. It has a lot of the basics that you would need, so Band-Aids and antiseptic, things like that. It also has a waterproof container, so I could use that for something else if I needed to. The reason I went with this kit is because it's compact. It has a lot of the essentials that I would want. The ones that you could buy that are already pre-made from Walmart have, like 90 Band-Aids and stuff like that. This has just enough gear for a very short trek, but it's all in one section, watertight. It does have a little carabiner, a little extra cordage, so some extra bonuses when you purchase this first aid kit. Move on to the next pocket now, and one of the first things you'll see is a poncho. There was a less expensive version than this one, which is about $2. I went with this one, which was closer to $4. It's just heavier weight. It's still lightweight, but it was more durable than the other ones that are super cheap and rip very easily. So this will give me not only a way to stay dry if it is raining or if there's any inclement weather, but also this could certainly double as a piece of a shelter or a shelter in a last-ditch scenario, and also a signaling device. That's why I got the bright red one. So there's that. Then I grabbed a bunch of food. Now you might look and say, potatoes in a can, yes, I do have a way to open it with the multi-tool, but isn't that heavy? Yeah, it is heavy, but it's inexpensive and it's carbs. And so I didn't want to spend money on fancy bars or something like that. Just, again, cost prohibitive. The other thing about this is if I had this bag in my closet at work and left it there, and then all of a sudden, a couple months or even a year later, I needed to grab it and go, there's some things that were inexpensive, but they expired, and so I don't want to have to deal with that. So here's one of my food items, potatoes. I got a bunch of these. Peanut butter, got some protein, crackers there, 6-pack, and I think there's like 4 in each pack, so 24 crackers there. And then a little treat, again, peanut butter, peanuts, a little treat because it's a king-size payday candy bar, but to give you that little extra boost. So there's that. Let's see, a couple more things down here. Reflecting and hearing from different people in various survival scenarios, and in particular recently on Alone, protein's a huge deal and fat's a huge deal. So I want to have some fats, and then we get some good proteins here with tuna fish. I think that's all in that section. Last thing, what I kept was the information on these aqua tabs, so I'd actually know how to use them proportionally. And then I've got the aqua tabs here. That's to take care of giardia, etc. when you're dealing with water. Is that as effective as boiling or a life straw or something like that? Probably not. But this was going to be the best option, most lightweight, and not wreck my budget as I'm actually going through the process of building this bag. So that's everything in the outer pocket, this small pocket, and this first main section. Moving on to the main section in the bag, first thing you'll see is this, which is actually this survival reflect tent made by Ultimate Survival Technologies. I'm not like absolutely crazy about their stuff, but it is inexpensive in general. And so this is like a huge Mylar blanket. It's thicker than your average, Mylar or space blanket. It's big enough you can make it into 3 sides, so you have kind of a tent or shelter. And then it does come with some cordage. I also, inside this bag, put some fire starters. So I bought those separately. I think they're basically the Coleman version of like quick tinder. Threw that box out and just put them in here. So now I've got them in a bag, inside another bag, to make sure that they stay nice and dry. So this is my shelter option, or just wrap it around you to stay warm if it gets cold. Could you buy a tent? Yeah, if you want to use a vast majority of your budget, but this allows me to have some sort of shelter plus the poncho. I think I'm going to be okay as far as if there's any kind of weather at night. Next up here, I got 4 boxes of waterproof matches. These are made by Coleman. Again, Ultimate Survival Technologies, Coleman. Not the highest end companies as far as what I would normally want to invest in, but to save the money, now I've got 4 boxes of matches plus a ferro rod on that Ultimate Survival Technologies whistle that I showed you before. So now I feel really good about having a good chance to get a fire started, and these are waterproof. I haven't tested these out yet. I've used UCO waterproof matches and they work excellent. They're like a small road flare. How will these burn? To be determined, but this again seemed like the best use to make sure I had a variety of different ways to get a fire started. I was looking around for a pot. I wanted to buy a pot, too expensive, too large. So this is what I ended up going with. A couple of these. These are just basically like, muffin tins or loaf tins. You get 3 of them, and it was 3 for 88 cents. So if I had a scenario, I'm like, I have to boil water, I could scoop water into the 3 of these, put them on a bed of hot coals, and actually boil the water that way. Again, not the ideal situation, but I feel like this was a better investment of my money and reduces the weight. These things are super light, and actually you can fit something inside there. And what I put inside there was a 3-pack of men's crew socks. So these go up a little bit higher. They're not super low, but having a wet pair of socks when you're hiking for a long time can be a real pain. So now I can swap out multiple pairs of socks, get up the next morning, put on a pair of socks. So these are definitely a comfort item, but they're also a safety item, because if you get beat up feet while you're hiking or bugging out, whatever it is, that could be a bad scenario. So this is what I actually got as both a safety item and a comfort item. And like I said, as far as packing, they fit nicely in there. Couple other items. I got some cordage. Instead of getting paracord, I got this. Not as strong as paracord, but I don't think I'm going to be lifting heavy loads, and this was less expensive, and I got actually more longer length for less money. So 100 feet of this. I think this might be the final item. Let me look. This was a choice to invest in this because sleep is so important in these types of scenarios. So this is a sleeping bag. It is a 50-degree warm weather bag. So is this going to be great in the winter? I don't think so, but it's going to be better than nothing. And thinking, well, I'll just build a big fire and hunker down doesn't always work. For me, I know just wrapping myself up in something that's cozy like this and trying to go to sleep at night makes such a difference. I did a survival outing where I was sleeping, and I was sleeping on top of a raised bed. Then I got up, I put some boughs down on that raised bed, and then threw my wool blanket on top of me. Made just a huge difference. So this is the last item in this $100 Walmart bug out / get home bag. What you're looking at here are 6 items that I bought and was kind of pushing and pulling as far as the amount of money I had spent. These items are not being used. The main reason was because I thought these were good, but there were better items that I could put in my bag. The main one that you can see here that would be great to have is this Sawyer mini water filter. This is going to run you $20. That's 20% of your entire budget. That is a lot of money to spend on a water filter. Water, very important, yes, but I do have other aqua tabs. I do have a way to boil water if I needed to. So I just thought, as great as it is and as compact as it might be, I still think that there's other things I need. Another thing I grabbed a hold of and thought might be good was this jacket. It was only $5, but that $5 pushing and pulling the money around, at the end of the day, I thought, if I came into work, I'd probably come in with a coat, if it was, colder weather, hat, gloves, etc. And so to have an additional layer would be nice, But since I'm going to be moving a lot and then in camp, setting up camp, and then going to bed and crawling into that sleeping bag, I decided this is something that could disappear from the items. This food, this food, and this food, all additional items I could have gotten. Not super expensive, but a little extra weight, and also I felt like I would have enough food for that 24-hour period, maybe 48-hour period of getting home. And then this last item is a folding stove with fuel from Ultimate Survival Technologies. I thought, hey, this could be good if I'm in a situation where I can't start a fire because, I don't want to make a scene or whatever. But there's ways to make fires that are very subtle without people seeing them. And this, again, it was all about the cost. So I decided to keep all these items out of the bug out bag, get home bag, put some other items in. And so these are not going to be used, just what you saw earlier that was in the bag. That's what I'm going to be using on my adventure. There you have it, my $100 Walmart bug out bag. So what I'm going to be doing is in about a week, I'm going to be going out and testing out this bag to see if my choices worked out. Pluses, minuses, advantages, disadvantages. In the meantime, I want to hear below from you in the comment section. What do you think? What would you have kept? What would you change? What would you swap out? What would you have more of? What would you have less of? So let's get that discussion started in the comment section. In the meantime, share this video with other people so they can see this and they can also see the adventure that I'm about to be on, like I said, in about a week as we test this thing out. Thanks as always for checking out the videos. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you have not done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. Take care.